I know it's nighttime in India, and I'm thrilled that you're taking this time for us to talk about emotion. So before I get into much, I just wanted to say hello. I hope you've had a good day. And I want to find out from you what your ideas about emotion, what ideas you have about emotion.
Number two, somebody should you said the Jamaica, what they should get this, number two, forget Chitu, Kondo, the Kondo telex, and somebody should turn, bring a Juju emotion colors, Semyon call. Ne, Semyon call, Mashugone. Did you mean to ask their ideas first?
Yes.
Yeah, the number two, and the TJ emotions said, the Semyon Yugiwa, but the Kandrich Resha, Titan Deyoki to consider the career ideas about emotion, right? Emotion than the idea career, Casore, Consu career, some two careers, and the Yatamut the condition is.
When I say emotion, what do you think?
Emotions and Tanya Bijudu, you read this Samuel Yugira, emotions love the any some chariot of the Karium Gudus, Karichagadus, Dida de Yogi Kijo Karishas.
Gano Shikimbo, Jono Shikimbo,
La
Gano, Guy got saw Shikimo, the joy saw Shikimo, the Nimra.
So here, one of the former indigenous scholars, Geshe has this to say. Whenever he hears emotion, what he gets an idea of is some kind of a strong feeling, be that of happiness or that of sadness.
Yes, so that strong feeling and sadness and happiness tend to be the ones that people think about first. They're the first two things people think about when you say emotion, happiness or sadness. But we also start to feel it. And so I know sometimes when I feel a strong emotion, I feel it in my body, I feel it in my head, and you feel emotions all over.
Nanda Kisla Sungana Shin Tararis, Nisola, emotion called Geshe doing it, and what the Katuki so I knew the chain grace, Katuki so I knew the. Then there are the emotions to do Soa Tapo, Soa Shutsimbo. That's all it's Soa down the Vajuris. Manche, Ninget and what the Katuki so at chain grace. Read the Soa the Toriadi, Kawaturgia is Lamna. 아니 류레 소그레 동발레 소그레 라발레 소그레스 전에 근데 그 가서래 랑시 요등이 지그레스
But there's so many other types of emotions. Based on formless consciousness. That's an interesting one, Rabka. You may understand more about emotions from a different perspective than we do in science, and I'm curious to learn some more about formless consciousness.
단다 게라 순간에는 아니 레 망체기 네 담보데 가도 소아니 토는 상도 코브레스 가도 니를 야와체지 제그리나요 emotional 난세기 세미올 난세기 아니 지게 넘버다 넘랑 망보요레스 단다라 단다 디 랭덱 나로 디 카다체세 랭덱 나로라 kushora galagi based on formless consciousness sungwa sungdi sumegi shebe shela tembares sumegi shebe shebala tembares sheba sumegi sheba tendu julbe ani chöjres sungso di gengi sesungwa gengi sungya jena emotion kola chikta 공수 투밀만 돼봐. 직신의 공수 미다와 전에 나눠줘라 emotional 걸 망고 송야요 또 하버리스. 아니 디나론 직단다. 그저라고 갈라기 아니 랭론 나오는 시체제. Based on formless consciousness. 근데 안다가도 유럽에 있는 게 고단체나 아니 송매기 셰베 땡라 땡되기 송매기 셰바 땡도 유되기 최저에 있어. 근데 소소 대단 다여기 이제 시행하게 로이스.
So I'm showing here a set of images, and these were determined to be universal emotion expressions. So you can tell in someone's face what feeling they're experiencing, and that emotion shows up on your face. So
the data they are parity pari minda mangudo dong in namju minda mangu things. Dezo chi any dongi number of train there the nang dingi any semyong gi rik chungi yores lagi yores semyong ti rik dezo under the control it jangajabdo dezo universal race yongtel race jiki sakuta sajata sanzamta mirita ane chiki karsore 근데 철로다 근데 개발준이 야매봐 답지 미로와 중국이지 미로와 용잡라 아니 두모도 유득이 아니 이모션 레이스 그래서 나는 소리니 아니 시 아니 나 동배 때도 남주부터네 아니 천도구야 레이스.
Do these look familiar? Have you made these faces? Do you know if your face does this when you're surprised? Or when you're afraid, do you do the same expressions with your face? Can you think about that in the mirror for a second, if this is the way your face looks when you experience these emotions?
근데 개인 순간은 이제나디 남주대조 전야기 딩기 아니 sem용대조 용텝제 투몬제 이마 삼도마세 대조 아니 동기 때는 남주 천난대 앞에지 투몬이베 소리지 송구도 디지디 남아서 당대 동기 남주 대용대 수수 남주인데 대용에서 아니 때베 갑라 아니 제일기 남 가서 sem용대 sem기딩래 예베 갑라 아니 랑슈기 아니 동배때는 남주대 직순전이 남주 더블 다른 갑도 남주 다른 땡쇼고도 해. 근데 천안 중에 도나 중에서
In the chats, Tenzin Sonam says neutral looks angry. And you know, I agree. To me, when I look at it, I thought, well, maybe he's a little angry. I'm not sure. So my neutral face looks a little bit different from this. Sometimes even as I'm sitting here with the sun in my eyes, I'm worried that I will look as if I am angry or I am upset because of the way my eyes have to go for the sun.
And kada nasagi lengde de nanglo tenzi sunam la ki sunga chena de nanglo la pari tensha nanglo ne pari surbe chichran jil ha de neutral side pharma side ba pharma so singda tinde ki pharbu ga me de pharma so ye kal pharma semyo ye kal namju ti de tensha namju de and pharma inju sabla tos zhonglang me so ji namju thungu do lapshas ti taran gengi me du chi is the top that you can toss zhonglang me namju do chi sorgu dos 대sem도 말세 개랑 자자비니 발매 내가서 sem용 발매 발만 내가 동계 남주디 근데랑 된금인도 아니 양 가브리 셈나로 전용미세 개면이 니만 샤단다보다 니면 당 보단다보 하바 동발을 보단다보다 미를 보단다보다 근데 괜찮지 미기 지 제좀로 소 남주 줄네 동배 더 퇴야 남주디 한 윤루도 디디 셈기 링나라다 근데 이 발복이 좋아하는 소년들이 개 여말에 니만 보다는 근데 이게 괜찮지 남주디 또 스트롱랑부서로 마데부서로 근데 이 펜쇼르고 메터선데 로서 연구도 인자 가브리 군이 갑마도 되는데 연구도
Gisela,
Question.
I have one question.
Oh, Sunda. Chishua. Gillian, somebody has a question. Yeah, Wangdenla.
Okay, like when we go through a documentation process, like making passport or other like visas, in that process we require like photo in that photo, like we have to have a like normal natural face, not like smiling and fearing and those kind of things. So is that have something to do with the psychological background, or what is that?
Geshe, do you want to ask the question in Tibetan for the students who don't speak English?
Yes. And kushonde lagi, kandina di. And then you yaman to shoot every couple of things. Parja Buyorwa, Par Kaptu Kasore, Par Tombatenje, Namju Tangu. Did Tombe Namju di Kajulas over the Negi, Namju Kaya, my Rambabla Yoding and Namju Tangu is the Labudos. Still I the Karikabayores, still I answer Mika Nuchobe, some come get that day, Tone, Namju in the 10 minutes with the 10 much over the.
It's a very good question. And it's, I think, based on some psychology, but also on now that they're using artificial intelligence to read things, the machines do a better job when you have a neutral expression. So by the end of our class today, we'll understand more about when you feel an emotion, when you express an emotion, and when you can read someone else's emotion. So those are the three important parts. Do you feel it? Do you express it? And can someone else interpret it?
And Kandina Jodi Tibahajan Yabulis, the Tablola psychology, Nuchobe, Semcom ki Tadanda, Semcom Gripe, Langchor, and there were those you talk about this. In a Katu, there was shared the Kawaios, artificial intelligence and Labudua, German Namjus Laura, German Namjus Labinda, and Tujet and the day Gune, Reda Mari, the day Purija, Tuje hasn't put in good work, and they don't that Tombanga Jogu, Tombanga Jogu, Tombanga Journey meet Tata in the Main, the Terran or Chicken Tuje, artificial intelligence, and German Namju. True vegetarian and what I say. Did you take 2 days of dictator would be torn? Call Lega Shodi, Tombenam duty, chick and chick, Parman never come, Rambam never come, Nam duty, and what I say, that Devayoris, go forget dictator with the Sudan of the Dicton. There is that and I do the ring of Sama Kali to do Kalikali and do some young that they were need so some Singaris, some young that they came to Rangi. Hula, Rangi, Yongto, Tone, Karin Yongudu says, feeling day. Nay, Yonga de Cheeton, Namju Tone, can this turn with and express yadi. The name Namju Tone, temper the mission bear, tell a long day jabundi, mission bear tell 10 and they say jabundi, some young dish and low day jabundi, low day jadan, they any tata data, low day jadan, Jenny. Rangi some young Soria, Sober the Chin Namjutola, Toya, Temper the mission bear, any candice reading chikido, and this low day jabuto, or Titan de Nijungazu, Kalakazam chick, any Lobson's high on the college, Geshe Sagaris.
I was trying to find an image to show, I think, that will demonstrate why they need a neutral face because of all these measurements. Is it am I sharing my screen? Yes, and you can see the biometric face recognition. Yes, it's easier if you are making a neutral expression to get these measurements. So you can compare and match, and it's much easier if it's a neutral face because once you start expressing emotions, the face changes and it's harder to calculate these scores.
Oh, the day they are the artificial intelligence ki tombe namju long day jatangi tan de university ko na lo ditan ki tone ko ki biometrics chene ko ki lubi kaso ro jengwe ki tat cheshi dan ani ti june tombe namju je yongdi phage che du tab shawati rangbob de ka de na che du takda ba ni 제토그레스 다음에 남주 줄제 즉 가져를 소는 주 때문에나 그 그게나 즉샤고 되다 투르고 요래 시시디 뭐다 야부지야다 그 내가 야부지 뒤에 가부지 요래
Good. There's some construction near, so I turn off my audio when I'm not speaking, but then I forget to turn it back on. So here we are. So I wanted to go back to these slides, this picture. Looking at this, and we see these emotions being expressed. But what I said before, why it was important, is we feel them, and then our face and our bodies can show the emotion. And then because we are social animals, others need to be able to understand what we mean. So if I see this face, I know that person is afraid, and it sends me a message about what I need to do also. Maybe I need to be afraid. Maybe I need to run. Maybe I need to take care of something. And so it's very important to communicate, and the facial expressions are very, very helpful in communicating what emotion the person is feeling.
Jenny, thank you. Tagaran to law on the Delpha law. Then alone, Namju the Namju Saur that she told she Tombeto and Namju turned down, Lubeto and Namju turned down. Nangi Yula, Samuel Kandeshi, you met Kandeshi, you make Namju chill turn do any Tombet unit thing, Carry and Lugi and Namju Tone and turn with it. The Lu Namju Tone, don't read that Lu Namju Tone to turn already. And then I simple Kelso Samuel and Nambula, Yama Chigo Mayin, but she Namju Tone the Kessenbook Shuchagi or Karisanazo. And soldier is some gender is. Chitol temper some gender is. Then I'll do pension chigil, then do the Washujoris, part to chigil, tending the agent, devil net is. Did you do Miss Michigi? Did you do any Chigi Namju, Tombenamju in the Lu, Namju Tensha, but the and Kazutugi, Tatachi, long day to edge, Tatachi, Zatsu to edge, Namju, the Karitungi, Tata Zatsu. Mission bed that's where the back edge materials. Or the pension chicks, then table is that. And a chick shenano shoot given over the and chick gave Namju to Tembe in a mission bed. Or that chick shenan shoot give us as yourself as some son of Chita. And a shenan shoot give and chick carrying chick semi or some son of Chenny. The shenayo with the Namju on the Shempati, Gunet, Tongan digi, and she got the Tambe and Yalin Jail Cavayoris. Is that Tombenam Juta, Lu Namju Temba teaching pension. Dale, because of drilling is.
Do you think you can fake a smile? Or if someone fakes a smile, can you tell? Do you know the difference between a real smile and a fake smile? What's the difference? Can you tell?
Namju Tendan the Kabla. Namju Temba Kabla, Namju German Yimbata, German Mayimba Yimbade. And so in a Namju German and the Singi West, turn to good West, the Shon West. Mission Ben Namju German and Tayin, or that in Namju German is and you want to send and the German Mayimba Raymond to send how quiet in the you would West.
This picture is a famous picture of Duchenne, a physician and researcher whose patient could not create his own facial expressions because of his muscle paralysis.
Duchenne, the physician is the Duchenne. Duchenne cigarettes, called Shimju Bajeres, take on Amjijeres. Is that under the Kongi Tajinasagi never did. Muscle contraction chene. Shane to come there over the Shane, come to be Nazar of Chicken Chene. Same Nalo, Cariso Davis, same young day, Namjutola, Jimaji, Tony Dene, turn to magic and never see this.
So you can stimulate the facial muscles to create the different facial expressions, but that doesn't mean that you will experience the emotion.
근데 인자 나한기 셈난 소야디 치타도 남주통을 태음하도 봐 남신 치타게 치 동변 남주들의 시뮬레이트 체스 중에라 그 가서래 되기 빼대니 되는 레모셔들 봐 레모셔싱 그래서 pendant 시험을 줄 때지 제비나 레모셔싱 그래서 이제 동기 남주디 레모셔부터네 아니 죄제 아니 지금 땡토그래 되네야 대단 땡땡 갑라 아니 낭셈 낭로라 다가라한테 대화요 그게 셈용 용어에 해봐요 말이지.
So in English, when I want my children to smile for a picture, they always tell us to say cheese. And so you take these pictures and you tell children to say cheese. What do you say in Tibetan when you want to get the children to smile in a picture? You have a similar thing?
지제 도와이나 지제 도와이나 안 라바도 인지게 잡사 lumba 도와이나 아니 동변 남주디 개무쇼 남주지 땡고이나 아니 개무쇼스 람마 말라브체 칸에 cheese 랍쇼스니 랍쇼디 cheese 라빈디 라바타게 동변 남주디 셈난 가르코나 마고네 치다도 개무쇼 남주디 되는 거야 알았어. 되는 시간 아주 페베 리슈나로라 근데 지금 열베스 지금 개무쇼 남주 태국이나 딜 지금 제가 탑시도 가리요 알았어. 근데 제가
Is there an equivalent in Tibetan?
대단한 지 교육청부터인데 그 여러에 베베리 슈노노라 칸에 라베아이네 양 시다라부지데 지 남주 칠로 남주 토야게 꿀론 제야 탑시도 가리요 알았어.
Oh, or do you just actually get them to smile by giving a joke? You tell a joke or you say something funny and then they laugh and then you get a nice picture?
Yes, I think.
야는 내가 수수수수라 개머르지 란제 아니 꿀론 남주 토야게 탑시 채우러 왜 대마인바 개머디 대체 값선선 수수수 가리가리 템바 마도 직 땡케버로 우리 좀 그래나도 땡베지에 되는데 용라인데 게 여러베스.
Choyan, you had an idea?
Yes, I think we don't have like same like in English like make cheese, but yeah, but we have like as you mentioned, you know, try to make some joke and then let them laugh, you know.
Yes. So that would be the way to do, and you can tell the difference. So when I ask my children to smile for a picture, they give me a fake smile. Cheese, and you can see. But your eyes don't move when you say that. If you give a real joke, if you have a real fun, if you are enjoying it, then your whole face changes and you can see the difference. You can tell the difference between a fake smile and a real smile.
여기 저라 계속 전화하기 중요하잖아. 먼저 베베 리슈 나올라. 자기다 인지 lumba 되게 지스라야다 되었음거든데 그지 요소 말이지. 이나야 값 수수수수라 처벌을 란제 개무쇼 처벌을 란 근데 제부터네 아니 동배 남주토 개무쇼에 남주토야 다시 지그레스 겐라게 다란 순서디 겐라 순가디 나 인지 lumbenalore 인지게 제세 lumbenalo 인지게 균도 되지셔야 lumbenalo라 지세 답 랍주네 될 랍되게 갑도 다란라 치다도 아니 동 개무쇼에 남주치 된도기 열레스 이래때 야고지 숨주 제비나 디디기 개모디 개모네 쇼면서 딩니 개모쇼면서 지스 라바 되게 토네 알간섬기 개모던 대화에 지기 샤네 동배땡기 아니 샤딤 야마 디워더당기 남주로 튕겨여래 이내요 개모네 쇼네 즉 처벌어지 나직 제네 개모 백가모도 딩니 쇼야기 갑기 동배 남주 대당 개모 좀 쇼베 갑한테 지스 라바다 되게 남주디니라 개발열이 심사보진 대비나 군이 예와 시도그레스.
So I'm bringing all these things up because I want to put it together to say all of this is coordinated by the muscles in your face and your body expressions, but the brain is coordinating a lot of this and interpreting at the same time.
And the decal dosin tuition Geshe jin here junse khares namna tende ki kemusho be kap nam ju them be kap de kap la cheke kharso cho mangbo chikla 정규에 보지 처음 보지 나는 내가라고 망고 용기 두기 어렸어 그 두가 됐다 꾸인랑 대꾸인라 편준 남편준 제투 지겐디 레벨식이 어렸어 제 남주 대한디 루비도 남주 템버리 동배도라 남주 템버리 지 셔짐다 셔짐 구조 대단단디 내가 열 때디 코드 편준 버를 제투 지겐다 보디 코디네이트 지겐다 보디 레벨식이 어렸어
Where's my screen? I can't find it. Hold on. Yes. Or if I go here, screens. Yes. So many of the emotions that we experience are processed deep in the brain. So under the cortex, so you can see the cortex here. This is a half view, and you're looking in the center sections, including the hippocampus, the amygdala, are all very important in processing emotions.
And 이제 레벨 아니 제투지기 어렸어게 레벨 제투시단다 레벨 제투시서 사구이도 집이네 사구이 거기에서나 나 먼저 통대 레벨도 데려와 가래래 최샤래 최샤제벨 레벨와 갑도마 최샤제벨 최샤제벨 레벨인자 이 강 칠로기 세브더브 다 레슈로 봐 코텍스 레슈체 이 나로 공부여서다 아니 원아여서다 내 마음에서도 다 대전 나로라 아니 3년대 여기 다 레강군에 지긴다 아니 레강군에서 숙심부 지긴다 레투 지긴디 대나요 레스티나 답에나 히포 did you say hippocampus?
Yes.
Hippocampus so hippocampus hippocampus che ne dirwa kasa hippocampus tu kare sodama che tene tanda amygdala kamsi leshu che hypothalamus che 됐다 dewa chocha dear yes yours
Like what? You unmuted. Do you have a question? No? Okay. So the anatomy of emotion is there are many structures deep in the brain that help to process and interpret emotion. So I can generate the emotion I'm feeling in my brain, but I can also interpret the emotion you're expressing by using the same machinery.
the anatomy of emotions emotion than the yogi pungne ratik emotion than the pungne the emotion than we should avoid doing any circuit to think your is the any nangi sem nanlogi any semyon chowa dezola any jetuchia da nyamdo mission be any tombenam yuda the tone tenshabe any nedan dezoi any emotion jila jawata che semyon jila jawata ni ani lo de jebe dezole and level di chachi yoris.
So much of what you might remember from your emotion lectures in the ETSI 6-year program, much of that has to do with the machinery and how this works. But I wanted us to do a worksheet today that demonstrates how interpreting the emotions is also important.
And the lotu nalola semyon and the yogi and lopse kazushi ni lopti chebata the mang chebachi chujeda devetone chuje gune and she debata hako than taji chebata tesuda dewa injuries. But the ring answer della any lejong worksheet susu legacy worksheet lejong cheseki majitamche physitamgi energy metal worksheet dune any susu kegi rangton and yon de semyon de so 아니 디시 제외다 디 로테 제외다 제주든 저외에 레종 지금 인신 시 레종 능기 인수기요다.
Without having Geshe translate this whole thing, in 2009, they did another study to compare if people can tell the difference between a real smile and a fake smile. So the real smiles here are named after that physician who was studying it. But can you tell the difference between cheese and if you actually enjoyed the amusing joke? And it is very clear that people are able to tell the difference when they see the whole face. But when they only see the upper or lower face, it really changes how they can interpret it. That was a lot. Geshe, you heard me?
I see. So I first thought that you didn't want me to translate this part.
You don't have to translate the whole slide.
I see.
But that's the main point.
Yeah. 제니는다 단다 당기 게모 쇼야기 로아 셈기 동배된기 아니 게모 쇼야 남주데 델라 제마 마임바데 제마 니가 요레스 소소와 제마 마임바데 저 당기 암지 디기 천도네 민 따버레는 지 소소 베제 공기 따제 나야단 저와체니 니에베 인자 된데기 제미로 니네 다이 닝두신 셰비나 제마기 게모 쇼인데 르부 셈 가서 동배된기 사실 망부지 리나는 냠슈지기 요마리스 다 제마마 이미지 쇼에 누가 동배 사실 대외장 하장 망아지 그냥 사실 랑기 요리 여자 지로 미 대비네 가서 못아야 붙여 두기 요리스.
So we will look at an experiment and we will ask some questions to see if we can figure out how the expression on your face and what you feel might impact how someone can interpret your emotions.
근데 나중에 동배 남주 우리 근데 같이 땡기 중요해서래 땡기 땡부터 주네 나중에 될 로데 간데 제부터 로데 잡다는 바에 심발라 아니 가서래 슈견도 간데 저기 이메 걸 딱인스.
Okay. Let's find this. So this is what I want to share with you. Are you familiar with Botox?
네.
Yeah.
Number two, Botox lamna 가릴라 쓰기 이메 킹기베스.
Botox. So B-O-T-O-X.
B-O-T-O-X 이그레스.
Botox.
신고뉴에 간디 가릴라 쓰기 킹기베스.
No.
No? Okay. Well, sometimes, yes, some people will be familiar. Sometimes people want to get rid of wrinkles, right? When you start to have the wrinkles or here, or they want to look younger. And so they get injections into their face muscles that paralyze the face. It's actually a toxin. It's called botulinum toxin. And that toxin or poison paralyzes the muscles in the face so that they can't move. So you can't do that and you can't get the wrinkles. So it's a cosmetic treatment that people use to look younger.
And Botox said the capsules, the capjani carpingiers, she don't them you told Yamada with the Yungura, Yamada cum devil of the Yungra, Sanguris, Sansa hot day on a Mavus Congress. Did you do cheat out the meat day on the Shensu to find Yamada the Matoya Sigris? In you caress Lamna Capjavan and Capjan and Juagi, Zed mean like Zed Casare, Zeg bought what is the toxin called?
Botulinum.
Botulinum cigarettes. Botulinum cigarettes. The any cup now the two take your gear. The cavity catching some. They Papa Deso. Papa paralyzed securities. Coach Carson, Carsore, Nazuna, could Legachemato, Sony, could depot sort of thing, the paralyzed Jenny, name shower Jenny, could shower Jenny, could Legachemato security. Legachemato, could go Jagmar, would you imagine any Yamadi Tungi Amaris? Could Pedro share the toxin risk, to Zegiris, if Pedro Shabeton, any Negoringa, any section should do with Toya of the Nation.
So this is going to answer your question, maybe Rabga, but you are going to work on it in groups. I'm trying to set up this relationship between your face moving and your brain understanding what that movement means. So Botox is the poison or the treatment that people use to paralyze their face muscles to look younger, to get rid of wrinkles. And they've discovered that after years of getting this treatment, people are not able to make the same range of expressions, including anger, but they also cannot read them. So if someone is looking at you and makes an angry face, they're not able to tell as easily as before they had the Botox. So once you stop making that kind of face for a long time, it becomes difficult for you to interpret those faces on someone else.
That's any, and the Shimju during which any day on the Karatongs, Botox said the Kapdi, Dinalo Dangi. Bojana Sagi, the Jusha, Tigi, any cup the 10, any chicky, negation should do Toya and take Tapsi on there. Tapsi the during boat and day and the Che on the day, Tapsi Tengi, Mizo, Parujilla, a crown de Tombenam used to them to some of them. Mission better Tombenam used to day on the Lord Jatuyamas. The cup the Koran the Jabri, Koran the Jabisan, Koran the Tombena, Tombetengla, Namju the 20 Yomaris. They matter with the Nyamdo, Mission Bell, Castle de Deogi, Semyon the Debe, any Tombenam Jute, one of you did and the order to co condos as a consequence as a question and Jesus in Tata Londe Nimana Shin, Tata Tipu Yatuku Yomaris. Is there another Nanazuki? Caso de Rugasus, the Shu Cosi Jami Cabla Tombe Namjus or the Tombe Shashi Gujo Jabata, any Lebe, any Asore Lebe, Timothy, that's where understand Chiaja, but in Ibaruki, Javati, Kola, and the numbers of Kutucia, Koga.
Okay. So what I want to ask you to do, I want you to break into small groups, and I want you to think of an experiment that could support that idea. The idea that the emotion that you feel can impact the emotions that you interpret. In the chats, we had a question that said, sometimes fake smile and fake laughter results in real smile and laughter. Is there any relation? Is there a way to test that? And what would that experiment look like? So, can I prevent anger by paralyzing your face? Or can I make you smile, real smile, by fake smile first? What would that experiment look like? How could we set up an experiment to figure out if there's a relationship between fake smile and fake laughter and real smile and real laughter, or anger and facial expression?
Jenny, Rugasus Kushi Jabse, any Rugasus Kushi Jamni, to do Nayadi, Chi Namju. Taya Kasori, Kemo, German, the German Maimbe, Namju, Taya de Dane, and then Lebe de Lodeja, Rangi, Namju, Temper de Shembe, Lodeja, and Parugi, Javadi Kola, Ani Javadi Candes Simju Chigimba, Candes Taji Chigimba, Taji Quabachi Dia Kutuchaguris. Chicken Namju Zumachi Tengi and Namju Zuman Tempati. Gillian, I kind of got lost because I thought you were commenting on a question that you found on the chat.
So they're similar.
Okay.
One is about smiling. If you fake smile, then it can result in a real smile or real laughter.
Okay.
And then that's one side of it.
Okay.
But the question I had prepared was about anger. If you can prevent someone from expressing anger on their face, does that have any relationship with how they feel anger or can interpret anger?
So the question is to think of an experiment.
What is an experiment that would help us to see if there is a real relationship between fake and real emotions?
Jenny, thank you. Then the Tibeti Guys, the Tibeti data and the Galagi, the number Sugi, Taje Naja, to Rugasu Koshi, Tony, Taje Naja, the Tibeta will lead those. The Tibeti and the Yogi, Nezuchiki, Kemo Zumata, Kemo Money, Boru, Java Carrioris, Kemo Moneta, Kemo Zumani, Boru, and Java Carrioris. Then again, so the Tibeti. Then she and Conto Salgin, Conto Dovgina, Shabaki Conto Nam Conto Sagi, Conto Namju Thermojubin. Hello, Bezu Tapsi the Jenny Thermojubit, and Thermojubitigi, Jan Jenny, Missimbe, and Conto Namju Temper, Dayondi, and Tanda Conto Sai Namju Thermojusa Yorwa, Kurgi, and Missimbe, when Namju Dayon, the Tempeti. Content with Tata Hamahoy, Gogudu, Gogumindo, Teach Mijoseagi, Taje Kadistigi Bas. The Dordina Gasore Gemachama, Tajama, my many Baru Java, and this Taji Chigimba, Candes Ratu Chigimba. Any Gemo Gemosore, Condo Namjudo, which any Tombal Dea. Temajuni, Bezucheni, Namjudi Kava Tigi, and Munera, Mission Bay Namjudi the day and you so to Tata Zachugu, the Chugumindo, contested Shigimbas.
Thank you, Geshe. I know that was very complex.
I thought you were responding to a question, but then you tied it into the experiment. I got kind of lost.
It's perfect. It's exactly that. I just want to see if they can come up with any kind of experiment that might show if there is a relationship between fake and real, or if you can block it and still feel it.
Jenny, that number the Ruru, Casa Rubasu, Taji Shade, and a Chigde, Kemuzumada, Kemumuni, Baru, Java, Kemusogota, Tombe Namjuchama, the German Mini Baru, Java, and Taji gas. Chigde, Tombala Namju Mune, Termaju. Termaju Tigi, any Tendegi, Kasha, Namjuti, Missimbe, when a Tonyondu, and Timothy loaded Jatu, Jatugundo, Tetache, yeah, years, but Tache to Condestigim.
So just a rough sketch and idea of how you could test this, and then take not more than 7 minutes, and then come back to tell us about your experiments.
Oce Rugasu Kandanda Pege, and in Dicola, and to do Nanje, and Taji, Gobado, Parindo, Gobado, Condestigim, but Rorosum degrees.
Are we back? There seemed to be a lot of confusion.
Oh. Confusion
Yeah.
about.
I got a question here. Can we use any tool for the experiment? Yes, I wanted you to use any tool for the experiment. Sondua, Rato, since you have already typed something, I'd like to hear what you discussed in your group.
Okay, Gillian, yeah. Fantastically, everyone. Just like Ishla. And yeah, in our group, like, yeah, we discussed that. In our group, actually, we thought that, like, without any tool, how could we make out the difference? But then, it's very difficult because since, like, each individual has own emotions and own experience of telling out, like whether a person is whether a person's smile is real or whether the person's smile is fake. Each individual has a different. So, but then, like my opinion would be like, if I'm allowed to use a tool, then I think like I would use EMG, electromyogram. So, like I would like to check the muscle of the eyes. So yeah, since you said that, like, when we say cheese, so it's more like, just to kind of, like, just for the sake of looking better in the picture, and yeah, and the genuine kind of the laugh is not coming. So, so if we can use EMG, then we could detect the eye. Yeah, then we could detect the muscle of the eye and eye movement. So
Very
from
good.
that, like, yeah, so from that we can make out the difference between if the smile is real or fake.
Very good. Thank you for pointing that out. Oh, does Geshla, we should translate, or could you, Sondu?
Yeah. 그들아 다들 잉규전 비교가 나선다.
Ale laugis, ale lasso gisila lasso. Ani sama test leshueni. Ani kare hana ngara zo kare hana ani hana ngaya zo ruga shiwa dirwa. Ani ngara zo samju na lola da ji kare. Kesi ani chuje seni ki chuje peje machiwe ki phone da kesi ngazo. Ani hana ta kare hana ta je do she to rewe korla ondi korla ani chodu test wa chodu dunzo che de ina kare. Ani kesi seni ki chuje peje machina ani khande do ji wa ya. peje machiwe phone khande yungu narwa. Tade ngara zo ruga ki na lola. Ani samju khashi yungela. 아니 삼주 카레 계승 알아서 카레 아니 즉 아니 카레 하나 동바 가지라 아니 카레 알아서 미게 동발라 아니 샤 미게 동발라 아니 샤네 만용 간제 미게 담면라 어디 걸라 하고 이렇게 준비를 제르와 한 다가는 시간 계속 카레 아니 알아서 동바디야 아니 돈분이라 땅 내려와 돈부 제가 땅 와도 오지나야 카레 아니 샤네 계속 계속 돈부 제가 질라 땅나 아니 샤네 계속 칼라 오다 즉 계속 아니 게모 카레 아니 점에 게모인 바다야 점마 마이베 아니 게모 오마 간제 이메 콜러와 어디 도스타 저도도 총수로 이나 카레 아니 계시 아니 취재 배제 마시나 아니 즉 카레 아니 알아서 미겔 소소라 양직 아니 하나 삼주 로가요레 삼주 민자와다 아니 영소 로가요와 디체 아니 알아나 카레 아니 게기 삼주다 카레 게라라 간디슈디 계시 알아서 취재 배제 지에 연나스데 아니 취재 디그레스데 아니 취재디 아니 엘렉트로마이오그램스네 알아서 아니 카레 근데 아니 카레 하나샤네기 규규디 아니 카레 칼레치기 메기 아니 세제기 아니 취재쇼와 계속 언제 배주 치와 도지나 아니 알아서 카레 아니 미기 예라 아니 샤네기죠 아니 규규치기 유메쇼라 계속 알아서 치스라네기 아니 게모쇼기 아니 게모 카레 아니 게모쮸메 게모쇼베 값소 아니 미기 예기 아니 규규 칼레치기 마다야 셈딩네 게모쇼 쇼 윤데 아니 EMG기 아니
Very good. So the group I was in, they were also trying to work out what tools they could use, and they came up with EEG. So in your group, it was EMG, and then in the other group, it was EEG, which measures the brain waves, right? So these are good suggestions so far. And I'd like to hear if any other group had other ideas about how to test out if the real emotion can be assessed differently from the fake emotion, or if there is no emotion present. So did any other groups discuss other things before I get into the experiment that was really done?
Oh, Jenny,
그룹 직시에 없구나.
oh yeah, Ruga Shimbajo Sunda.
먼저 그룹에 선바에 네.
Oh yeah.
먼저 가르쳐서 라나 네 게임 좀 하셔야 돼. 문에셔야 그렇게라나 비슷해. 미기 비슷하게. 예, 그래서 예. 게임 좀 하셔는 먼저 고야라는 디가 내가 지금 말들이 야시다 지금 말했습니다. 근데 게임 좀 하셔게 예배데 이 미들 따는 디야 되게도 되게 문들선 따는 디시란 되게 많아니 미들 좀 하셔도 생각도 되세요.
네.
디 탱고 야나 그 배문에 쉬어 봐제. 디네 디 지데 dumba la khap jane dumba di ko shawo chayada ane karse gore dige phashe dige control do soi sadi sana phashe dumba lo po ma thwe swage di nganzoge mini kana khap jange di level karse dumba no di khap jane shawo chase di ne ko control sachine pena karse nganzo khale nyamda gi parche yo MRI scan dino yajene didi ko control didi ko level chase ka ko lega chiu tikta 아니 내가 넣으신 게 눈발을 초라 만들게 돼서 컨트롤 이게 MRI 스캔을 해야지는 코 컨트롤 지나는 콜 레벨 차시 가고 아니 컨트롤 지다 근데 눈배기 대화도 컨트롤 레벨 차시 가니 대화도 세비지 바이 차시래다 이따가 대화하고 왔어
Yeah, so Gillian was in group 3. There they discussed both of those experiments. One was about how to detect the relationship between how to tell a real smile from a fake smile. They kind of pointed at this part of the eye, the side part. So they've agreed that maybe when the in the case of genuine smile, this part of the eye kind of really stretches back. Whereas in the fake smile cannot pull that off as much. So that was the experiment. But in the case of the second experiment, where you try to figure out how to test if someone who has been treated with Botox is now losing that ability themselves in reading others correctly, was to resort to a machine, fMRI, to kind of first see what their brain activity is like when they were not subjected to Botox, when they are smiling or whatnot, and see a correlation between the facial expression and brain activity reading. And then after having been treated with Botox for a long time, and then see what their brain activity looks like in the fMRI when they are making the same, when they are feeling the same emotion within. So through looking at that, they might be able to figure out whether that treatment has ever affected their capacity of reading others' emotion as well.
Wow, that is exactly what the researchers did for the paper that I am talking about. That's exactly what they looked at. So
너버서 할래야래샤스. 대패 심주중에 안다 심주중이 심주체네 심주고 tum제디 근다 겐라기 로제 디톨은 디시샤네 데시 자야기 심주 지겐 속에 다가나 세브리스. 너버서 대패 할래야래샤스.
So
Yes.
I will show, sorry, here, I'm trying to pull this up. Yes. So these areas that I mentioned before are associated with specific emotions. And the amygdala is very important to understanding anger and fear.
단다 데이터샤 디 레벨 차시 계속 언니나 emotion semnyonda mixed jawai doing level 차시레스 라과도 디 나로네 amygdala 감지레쇼디 아니 semnyon게 나로네 콘도다 셰나니다 믹스에 되어진 거요레스.
So I go back to this slide and show you. Remember, I mentioned that these structures are deeper in the brain. So there's some cortex or the external part of the brain, but most of what we are talking about is deeper. So you have the amygdala and all these structures that are deep down. So the EEG wouldn't be able to read the signals from here very well. So the EEG would be a good experiment if you were looking at the cortex, but doesn't give very much information about the deeper structures. So that was a good idea, but the MRI is going to be much better to get deep all the way down into those structures.
Chilog Sevudavati, Chilogi, Tukudavati, Rimatambo, Rimatukudi, Cortexra, Leshunwa. Leshunda Hazang, there was much Hagamaris. Dinalogi using Ngobudavatan, Chigonadavata, Mavudavatan, Jangu Tusua, or Tesu, and in Semyonda, Mixeki, there was some Sadigio. Semyonda, David, Lebe, Nalogi, Chiki, Nisutawas, Tesu, Kinisu, share to the Chagores. This had to do Chichi vegetarian alone EEGD and the Lezelori. Lezelori to go to vegetarian Tagadu Yogi Maris, so dinging to us. Lezelori Shucheva and the Lishung thing in it Tatugre. Now the law to Maris. That is the FMRI the race and the Jelle Duberti. Or Jelle Duberti and in Nangal Jutugiaris, Nan Jusora, Nangin to Yotugiaris. Is a Tegitone Lebe Nankungi and Sashi did not let you achieve a lot of ways.
Okay. I'm trying to find my, here we go. Is this right? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So we were looking at what possible experiments we could do, right? So in this paper that I'm telling you about, they used MRI to see if the facial expressions before Botox, after Botox, and then long after Botox when it has worn off, to see if they can tell the difference between happy and angry.
Oh, that's now the Dutch call coming to him, but Dutch chick Nanda Kasore, the Negi Botoski, the Chagin, any the Shukan Teleton and Shugo Mission Bay. Namgyal to social combating la Juatan Shire, Gishanet and the way of Namgyal and Mission Becky, Namgyal near what she shared woman says, the Taja said on the collar, MRI, Fiji Pejuche Toning, and with the Botos, Madame Becomne, Madame Ngela, and they do live in Nedan Handu. But Botos town with Jella, never let Nedan Handu. Boros Tani, Curing Jella, Boros Nibaka by Yetani. Yes, I will during Jella, young MRI Pejuton and any Cursor, Namju, shaking Namju temper, the Tata Lord they have to seem to share this.
So these are the data from this paper. So you can see here what's highlighted is the amygdala, right? They're looking for activity in the amygdala with before Botox, with Botox, and after the Botox has worn away.
And the Tendegi Simju Shabati, and the Simju Chene, Simju Chebe, any to do Tenshayarwa, or to do Tangdo. Tangdo Duje, Yetengi, Simju Tinalog, Nalola, and the Chigmao turning the toss when the Shabati, amygdala yesterday, amygdala yesterday, Zula, do 100 Rugudo, Lebe Changudo, Karagari Yugudo, the Taganashi and Botos, Majab, Cap Savage, and Shadagi, during which Jella Botos, Nibak and Yam Savage, and 정규 갈까도 때제 되게 되네 뒤샤베 장도들이스.
So what this shows, and you can look at just the bar graphs, and you can see before Botox, your amygdala activity is very high when you see an angry face and low when you see a happy face, because the amygdala is responding to anger or fear. And so you can see here, the red is angry. And so you have a response to an angry face, that you're shown an angry face, and then your amygdala will respond to the angry face, but not to the happy face when you are just normal before Botox.
The bar graph the Perry standwa technique graph standwa or the Tiri Nanola. The Mavo Sosum Tendo, Mavo Sosubute, and Condo than Danny and Emigdilaki Jangu Nubat Chungiore. Then the Emigdiladi Condo ta Shananila Mixeg Doy Lebesashi Chadiero. Is that a Botos Maja last? And the Condo you can Tombachik Tamina, Amigdila activity, Jangudi, Chucham Shujiore, and Lego and Yas and Tumudua. He never Tagarala, Botos Maja Kabla, me came showing the Wuji. She came to the cover you can see them to Tamina, Emigdilagi Changudi, Teleyalendi, Shiran Union. I mean, the Chiran Condo da Shananila Yaleting, I mean, Chatiera. Date and the bottles Nula, Namjut and Dandy, Namjut and the Tayon, Chan Lagachan in Nishu today.
When you receive Botox treatment, that is, your face is no longer able to respond. You cannot produce the expression of the emotion. Once that happens, you are no longer able to understand. Your amygdala does not respond to anger in the same way. You can see that line goes down. So it's less responsive to anger cues because your amygdala is now less able to detect anger in someone else.
The Marta Nibadi, he Marta de, that Botos Toda Hansa de la Botos Tapsare, Botos Tantani, Botos Tansaveza, Tombenam Tola, and Gasore, because University will turn to Tobia, Shane to Yuvatani. This you do mission magic counter shoes such a counter Namjutamina. They come to there and Emigdila Changudi, Nyundu, Hajama Pabdoa.
And once the Botox is worn off, you can see that it goes back to what it used to be. It's a little different. So this difference here is the same, but everything shifted a little bit, but it goes back to how it used to be after the Botox has worn off.
And then because Mata Sumba yesterday, Tali, our year showing net using it, and the Castle Lego thing, Hajan Tomudua, the Jangu in Nibashu Simputingia, the Jangu in Nibadi Kadures, Toda Kansata, Botos Japsa in Nibadi Yamsan during Bujela. And then Mission Bay Congress and Namjute, Toda Kansatigi, Congress and Mission Basic to Congress and Namjute, Niman Botos Japsa Kansati, and the Nibanyam taking as I did you immediately like in Nibadi, Changu hasn't talked to yours. So, I have a question.
Yes.
Looking at that bar
yes.
graph, why is it that the happiness measurement has gone up?
That's a really important question, right? So in the absence of, so they're measuring here, and you should see when someone is angry, you should see a low score for, this is your amygdala activity. So your amygdala is not going to respond to a happy face in the same way. So the blue is happy and the right amygdala doesn't respond too much.
Yes.
But it goes up because in the absence of additional information, it just interprets something is happening. And so during Botox, where it doesn't have the input from the anger emotion, it just adds something else in.
So, yeah, but I'm not so clear. When you, in this bar, the happy and the angry representation, are they being measured when they are shown an angry face and a happy face? Or is it or is it something else?
So the bar graph shows the difference between angry and happy face. So it subtracts the happy from the baseline and it subtracts the angry from the baseline. What is what the bar shows. But if you look at just the red line or the blue line, then you'll see red is just for angry and blue is just for happy. And then the bar is the difference.
I see. And then yeah, so it is not because amygdala has picked up activity in relation to a happy face.
The amygdala usually responds to angry face here and not so much to happy. But with the absence of the angry information, it fills it in with something else. And so happiness comes in, it just measures it a little bit higher there.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
But what's important is the difference between the two is that it's a small difference. They cannot tell the difference between happy and angry when they're on Botox. When you can see here, you can distinguish between happy and angry when before Botox and when Botox has worn off.
Yeah.
But during Botox, it's really difficult to tell the difference between happy and angry.
Mm-hmm. And then the body now, Chochin and amygdala ki Kaven Namjuta de la Yales take my summer. In a Parina, Kaven Namjula Tembe, as it comes to Leshuki, Chenuki, Shukti, Tayan, the Tile, you want to do it. Then you want down the candidates and Kandishivimba. He gangs nice and the Queen, those were you attend the so the condo. You can Namju like I mean the leg Yalente, you 100 to study a rest bottle, Jabbing, Jabbe countdown. In the way of countdown, in the Yambe. Is a Teta Turna, any Carso, Carbon Namjuchila, I mean the leg Yalente and Nibadi, and it Kodan Turna, and New York, Toy your way, and any Shiragi Kaba your vessel, did trash the rest. That's so tired the Kondo shows at the Vikabi, Queenie Borugi, Yalente, the Borugi, Kebarachungi, so Towers. Botos jabbing, jabbing Nuban Yams of Shuini Borula, and the Kavinam Juta, Kondonam Junior, Yaleg, Nubadigi, amid the letter, the Tombo Imbakashela, Kebarach Mushu to us.
Okay. So reading the response in the chats here, the person who was treated with Botox could not generate facial expression and also could not determine the facial expression of others. It is reasonable that the Botox treated person is not able to generate facial expression, but reading facial expression of others is eyes and occipital lobe job. So why can't the person detect others' facial expressions? Very good question. So that's the whole purpose of the experiment, is to show that the amygdala is really important in understanding as well as generating the emotion. Because if it was just about seeing, right, if it was just the eyes and the occipital lobe, then there would be no difference once your facial expression changed. But the relationship between your body and your brain, right, so your amygdala, as well as what you are able to produce, that relationship is very strong. And that is an important aspect of how emotions are whole body experiences. It's not just on your face and it's not just in your brain, that they work together.
다다 네 다제데 균에 네 저한테 저거 저거 뒤단데 여기 칼렌저디 가레스나 되게 가르된 게 열었나 에미들라디 그냥 감세내셔디 아니 콘도다 신나니의 저와 열었나 저와 여단데 콜로지 본주도 땅위나 다들 모토선데 얘기해 콜로 본주도 땅위나 랑이 남주 때문에 봐 동백담나 더 남주 때문에 좀도 마세 근데 그 신앙이 남주 신앙이 총용하나 랑이 주지 깨라 또 그게 예식이랬어 랑이 치다도 남주 때 맞도 좀도 마세 랑이 규익이 소환하는래 근데 그 세미온디 야 로야다 깨라 슈킨 테브리스 견제브리스 대자들 냠도 미신배 남주인데 때연도 남주디 로데다 다자모도 뒤에 텔레 견제기요리스.
So it's an oversimplification, but one could make the conclusion that your emotions are distributed in your brain as well as in your body. And so it's important that you behave in a way that you want your emotions to follow. So if you walk around with a sad face or a scowl face, you will feel the emotion of sadness or anger if you walk around with that face. But if you change your face to a smile or a compassionate look, that you can change the way that your brain interprets your own emotions as well as others' emotions.
Today is a Taki Taji Tiki Nalone Karitangi or Slamna, Samuel Slavdu, Chig Labata, Lubuta, Kanga, Nyamdo Davidone, Yon Deata, Tor Deata, Chung Diagnosis Chargi Yoris. Did you do Domro Gabina emotion the brain, the body nigal distribute chayoris, Labata, Lubuniga lapa. 가서 당하도나 거셔라버지 뭐지 탭대야기 그 강간 니가를 탭대기 니가를 담대기 내주지 차대요 그래서 또스 돈도 인도 조다로 차로 그래 이네요 되게 가르치기 어렵나 수수 셈나를 지 가서라버지 손이 되나 가서 두두기 동백이 남주디 지 가서 남주 때야 당 텐디질 검시 탭이 있나 대수기 랑슈기 랑기 아니 가서 남주 쳐야다 아직 남주디 두부러지 때제 지금 만나버지 때제 두세네 균된도 대비나 디슈겐 대제 아니 셈기 땡기 셈용대양 아니 대단 대순기 두부들의 용기요레스.
So Wang Nan's question is very important, right? To say, if you cannot generate the facial expressions, but your reading is the eyes and occipital lobe, this experiment answers that question to say it's not just the eyes and the occipital lobe, that in order to read the expressions, the brain structures involved, the brain structures are involved in reading the emotion as well. So generating it, feeling it, and interpreting it all need to be processed through the emotional machinery in the brain.
Today is a penetic. It is the Samuel the Devil. Chitado, me them you tend on the Rangi them you turn about seeing them you turn about. This was the dead of the Kamaris. Kumanang dingy in 11 logi, Chashi Zuta, Mixeg, Hajangi. Java Tambu Yoris, Penarangi Julia, Samuel, Dave, Samuel Jegu Unere, any Torgo Unere, any mission bed and then Namu Temple, the Susan Lord to be Jabba Jegu Unere. They can go Katu de Miki Tonsala, Namu Haritemba, Haritonga, this was the Java, the neck Amaris. Coma, some ding, Caso, level dingy, Jayogi, Chashi, Lagat Chetugu to Sigmundo. I
know we don't have very much time, but there are two quick things I wanted to show you. So let's see if I can find them very quickly. This one image about the amygdala. And I want you, it's going to be homework, and I don't know when we're going to meet again, but I want you to think about different pathways in the brain and how you might respond if your body acts differently. So if your heart rate and blood pressure increase, how does that change your emotional state because of the changes in your brain? So if you can start to think about how that might happen, right? So what we're spending time is the way your face, the expressions that your face can make can help you to understand other people's emotions. And so the way your body feels can also help you to understand the emotions. And if you put all of those things together, you start to create a picture of how the body and the brain are interacting in order to produce, express, and interpret emotions.
Sometimes they call pathway dalam khane ani khagil parlo ani neju chimba neju tangwa neju ro degi chen cheni ani chiki emotion dan de yogi juwado khaga rugudu cheni the sometime especially na ningi funding rate ningi funding gi chedi hajan thombe chabina di ani semyong la juwa khande stangdo semyong da semyong gu to ni ba khande thungdo tenashi 아니야 가서 리뷰 차시 심바 라 주바 가서 집에 디겐제니 sem용의 대회 아니야 남주 된다라 주바가 됐던 것도 가르가 되고도 데 공부해야지 그래서 널 눈에 가려서 남나 남주 가서 sem낭기 sem용기 소화돼 동배 남주 당 류기 구조 제외다 네가 송대기 토네 하루 버루 제가 돈 네가 송대기 토네 아니 sem용기 남주 가르 테마테 랑게 가서 서마서 미신배 sem용 가지고 텔레 딱딱 론데 지메지 잡투 뭐 강가다 되어차고 근데 인자 르베나로기 차시 심바직라 주샤 시우줄레네 닝 판딩 파르바다위네 엔 심바 간데로지기 요심바디기 아니 sem용데 데베 아니 요와 간데스 당기도 요 간데스 테비도 디 주네 가서래 동배 남주다 르베 남주 and Louis Tangi Jua, Ni Sunday Tone, Samuel La Tembe, Jua Tangi to Sendi, Compassia Tata is.
Okay. The last thing I want to show you, and you can spend time on your own looking through this, I pasted in the chat a link to, and I'll show you very quickly. Let's see, can I share my screen? Right here. So someone, right, some scientists figured out with videos that there are 27 different states of emotion. And all of these, it's fun to play around with. So they have videos, and you can click on the main emotion here, and it will show a video, and then it will show you how much of each type of emotion is in the video. I don't want to look at this one. It's horror, fear, disgust, anxiety, amusement. I don't want to look at that one. Let's find a happy one. Let's see, joy. We click on this one, and it'll show you different videos. And you can, once you start looking at them, all of these are videos that you can look at to see how much of each type of emotion people tend to find in these videos. So this video, for instance, is majority amusement, a little bit of horror, a little confusion, that sort of thing. Just something fun to look around and see what the different emotions will convey.
그런데 단단하다 아주 자산 좋아요. 뒤집는데 안다디 카드 시사기 날링데 나노 갱기 링지 난도 안되다시 어디 냐제 뒤집 동바지 걸라 세로나스 심주 체레버지기 심주 제네 아니 지그 샘용 라면다 23년 친구지 제요레스 응지 제요레 그 대전으로 첨부를 채비는 지금 자마전 고통배 내가기 컨퓨전 내가가 야는 지금 또 지금 가족 중매가기 내단다보다 야는 지금 신난다 남자다 대대 중매가기 내단다고 대대단대와 이게 견돈배 샘용 카면다 23년 친구지 제요레스 그래서 네 나머지 뒤에 동바지 걸라 디 레레네 그 년동들이 시시제 디 내주 다지 시간에 간데 제자 가리니 제자 간데서 문제 제자디 균을 나눠 나왔어.
Okay. What questions do you have? I know we are out of time, but if you have any questions, I'll try to answer very quickly.
쟤네 딱그 뒤주 시다면도 되나요? again 남버서 다동에 집어드네요나. 아니 남 그래서 집어드네요나. 아니 야 수로나서.
Okay, so if you remember anything from today, the main point is that your face, your body are all connected with the deep structures in the brain that allow you to experience, express, and interpret emotions.
이제 다 다른 게 땀제나서 되게 인간으로 되비나 아주 동바다 류분이 아니 semyon 레베 사실 대달라 하장기 제와 담보 요래 시스템이스 먼저 face and body are connected with brain structures associated with emotion. 자, 샘 동바다 류니가 아니 semyon 레베 난기 잘라들다 하장기 담보시는 데요래. 딘제버디 주네 먼저 semyon 철토바당 뇽토바당 디 실라 남주 땡토바당 미 땡버디 수수 시엔토바 디건가 근데 유니우이어레스.
And all the parts have to be working together in order to produce an appropriate experience, expression, and interpretation of emotion.
쟤네 대주 차시간가 안다 동바다 류 대유 차시다 동바 대유 차시다 아니 또셔봐 나 레벨 대유 차시도 간가 송대 제베 토네 간가 냠대 제베 토네 아니 안다 3년도 대베 즉 소소의 용에 이나리 실 남주대야 이나리 야 생기 3년도 대베 남주대버디 지마지신 로데야 이나리 디 간가게 근데 누가 간가 근데 송대 토네 용기요레스.
There's a quick question in the chat. With happy emotion, our heart rate stays normal, but when we get angry, it goes high. Actually, with happy emotion, your heart rate goes up a little too. Not as much, but a little bit. Part of that is, if you remember your sympathetic nervous system, with anger, you are getting ready to either fight or flee. So your body is getting ready to do something. And so the heart rate increases to allow you to either run away or to fight.
And the length and knowledge you do got to some 먼저 가보다 기부다 대대기 소녀 semyon 제인디 먼저 니 인기 펀딩기 세대 랑법 되기도 이 많이 버지는 공도 사업 값도 인기 펀딩 세대 아주 하장 토부셔도 돼 가려 됐으니까 이슈도와 개인 숨어야지나 아니 균대나 만나버지네 또 선거 가부슝 값리네 그래서 대저기 인기 펀딩기 세대야 파루레스 이내양 공도 사업 값당 값 가보기 하장 파야 되네 용기요말레스 디미 요 가르스나 공도 사업 값도 신앙 주의 값도 되네 값라 되네 수수 가서 레벨 사실 심피티릭 sympathetic nervous system yoga jebe 가서 제베 레베 가서 왕조 말라 제베 왕조 말라 디 딜라 아니 가서 휴견 태비고요. 디 휴견 태비 디 괜찮니? 근데 콩르사베네 제나제베네 디 괜찮니? 디 딜라 가서 디 딜라 꿀론 제베 디 균에 다 야나 벼고야 야나 동두 제니 진고야 근데 그 야렌이 제거야 그 담가지 내다지 중요해요. 이 중요한데 네 별두기 있네. 아니 동두 잠재 저기 있는 동두네 바 갑자기 있네. 대니가 놀라 저기 리뷰 딱 구조를 좀 슈첨부 제거야지 내단 차기에서 디기 팬도옥사고로 디기 쳐라. 아니 대기 쳐도 좀 버전이 닝기 펀딩양 하장 파는고요.
I have a request for the research paper with the Botox. It is open access. I've copied the, oh, no, I sent it. I'll send it to everyone. Here. So you have access to that. And then the last question here in the chats really quickly is, do scientists recognize all those emotions as emotions? Are the universal emotions that everyone expresses? So the universal emotions, for years, they've been arguing back and forth about whether there are 6 or 7 universal emotions. As you know, culture determines so many things. So there are many additional emotions that some cultures experience and other cultures don't. But the main ones that they have been able to identify in all cultures are fear, anger, surprise, happiness, sadness. And disgust. So those 6 that I showed you are the ones that everybody in all the cultures that have been examined or explored, everyone experiences those. But after that, they're not really universal. People, different cultures have different expectations of how to respond to emotional situations.
근데 카드 랭데 나로 저지도 저번 나로라 여기 3년 20년 송에 봐 디 송에서 3년 20년 먼저 제열사기 세리와 관계 3년 안에 먼저 지기를 배야나 3년 주로 되는 지금 먼저 전에 디지 용접이 3년에 세지 봐 대삼 아니 3년 인발 먼저 지기를 간데레스는 간디슈샤 단다 갱 송에서나 3년 용락이 3년 쭉 나는 뒤지 문제 지기어래 뒤지 체리바이 교용네 그제 문제 지기어래 3년 인발 문제 제부터 뒤 용락이 3년 문제 지기어래 이마도 셴바도 3년 안에 문제 제티스 가고래 그래서 리슈기 슈겐 슈슈 좀 되기어래 리슈 민다 왕기 3년 그 민다 소리야다 소르디 남주 민다 땡기어래 이제디 리슈 단 자와차리기 위해서 리슈 민다 바로라 저 딱다 직송기 응원련 체투야 응원련석으로 직송기 직 차기요 말이스 다단다 용락이 3년 속으로 왔다 용락이 3년서 용접이 3년 두고데 직난체 근데 콘도체 근데 서프라이즈 제네 야체야도 뭐사체야도 저와티 양천제체 근데 가보체 대기 happiness then semajoya jonan then chik they discuss peje chemen loya di chelo je ba
So the argument about the different universal expressions are, these are the ones that are most important to keep us safe and alive. If you cannot tell that somebody is experiencing disgust, you might also end up in a problem. So if I eat something that's bitter or would make me sick, that's the face I would make. If I cannot understand that you have experienced that, I might also eat the very bad thing. So these seem to be the ones that humans must understand in order to survive. There's a great question in the chats about whether animals experience those emotions. I don't know. We don't have a way to ask We don't have a way to get the information about what the animals are experiencing. So maybe they are experiencing them, but it's so hard for us to be able to really tell if the dog is happy, for instance. There is not the same expression. You can see the tail wagging, but without being able to communicate directly with them, it's hard for us to know if they experience the same emotions.
단다 개개하기 동리도와 동리 가족 전담의 뒤에도와 어디기 안다 영적기 sem용기 내주도 증거열이스 영적기 sem용 쭉 뒤에 문제 제시하는데 지단에 나도 가서래 수수 된자당 아니 무튼이 선부신이 대야당 하장이 대화 담보 유디긴기 sem용시다 차득이열이스 디시디 그 영접 친구 찾고야 아주 미인조발라 매너마도 매너 민대야도 이러와 매너 민대야도 디 매너 아니 소수다 소수 된자다 아니 강에다 년가때야 된대 차누고요. 스페니시는 discuss contempt 사야지. 먼저 셰멜로야다 마가 사야지. 로 셰멜로야다 마가 사야지. 로디 시우게지모이나 가르에서나 지금 수수 가르는 지 사기 있는 동기는 지 제쇼네 디 균을 마가 시우지기 차비나 지 셰멜로야 내주지 왜냐 디 남주는 토요토바다 무진 셰토바지 마주나 아니 미시베 다른 지그래 아니 수수의 제만 지그래 디체베 겐신이 수수 된자다 무튼이 소순시야래 견제 그래서 일단 라버진에 더 sem용 심바도 조이네 시제기 된자진 소야 대신 가서래 대부분간에 아니 뇌견매를 통해 소순시야 수수 된자다 그쪽으로 시제 초다런다 내가 사디요 그래서 근데 지금 지워지에 나눠라 여기 sem용 두부대 sem용 영적의 sem용 두부대 둘도 sem진수역이 소르게 열어요 말이 콘돌레 열어요 말이 간디나샤 지와 하장 지와 야고 시우레스 이내한테 단다 하고야 백하고레스 둘도 sem진수 깨제 지제 가리 소르고도 센 깨제 지우레스 이제 고조 깨제 지야 탑시지요 말이 이 사람 때는 지르부지 있는 슈구유기 열때 슈구문에 유비갑라 갑도 될 가리 소르고도 가리 셈나 가리 용용도 제 깨제 지사요 말자 깨제 지사 메디 안템 직다다 아니 군이 카탑제 라드제 용거 말이스 근데 이제 아니 전주도 이 sem용들이 여기 따지셔 시작하고 그래서
Okay, I want to thank Geshe for teaching so much this morning, because I would say many, many things and he has to keep track of everything in order to translate and interpret. And I think you have done a remarkable job on an early Saturday morning. So thank you so much. And thank you all for staying tuned in the evening where you are. I really appreciate your attention and your questions. My email is in the chat. Please feel free to email me if you understand English or have someone who can help you. I'm happy to answer any questions by email. I'm finally able to connect again. I'm in Kingston now, a different part of Jamaica where I have better internet. So I want to say thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful evening and day.
토지세스 주야인 당어도 다리 주디아레스 아니 나버서 관계 냄수 야분나서 주어 들린다 공장나에도 할래 야분나서 토지세스 주야인 아니 게라 자원나야 이나 무투제 자원나로나 개인기 뉴팅기 간장데 피유스 인지미지 자원나로나 수수 인지 개인기나 자원나로나 수수 개인기면에 셴바지 람데 규네 아니 지와이나데 삼자때 근데 잠깐 인지미지 무투 나로나 나바도 단다 걔나 슈세데 제메게 나노기 킹스턴 사자 셴바지 뼈샤요 사자데 직타게 근제는 무슨 또 상하요레스 어딘데 이 아니 나버서 trouble네 슈야다 trouble요야기 아니 렌디 슈기요 문디 슈기요